I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Joe Biden's going to be 80 soon. Stephen Colbert said, yeah, right after the midterms, it's going to be another big day. It's going to be Joe Biden's birthday. He'll turn 80, making him the first president to become an octogenarian while in office. The White House is a little bit of a problem here because oldest president ever is not the kind of record you want to be setting. It's right up there with Grover Cleveland's record for longest presidential fingernails. According to administration sources, you shouldn't expect a blowout birthday bash, which is just what you'd say when you're planning a surprise party. Oh, it's going to be hot. There's going to be senior citizen throwdown. We're talking ensure stands, low-cut shawls, and shots, COVID, flu, and shingles. Seth Meyers tagged in and said that although the White House plans to downplay the birthday, well, good luck with that, because everything about Biden screams birthday week. Monday, I'm going bowling with my college buds. Tuesday, shots. Wednesday, Dave & Buster's. Then we're all flying to Ibiza. From rock pop culture, Eboni K. Williams has officially canceled Chris Rock. Now, I'm not sure Eboni has the power to cancel Chris Rock. I think the rest of us get to weigh in on this, but the Real Housewives of New York alum has made it clear she's no fan of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock with an open hand, but after witnessing Chris Rock's comedy style at a recent event, she's changed her mind about him. Okay, I'm going to attempt to read you what she said. I'm going to have to replace a lot of words for various reasons. Here's the best I can do. She was on her podcast Holding Court, and here's what she said. I've been a lifelong Chris Rock comedy fan. For me, Chris Rock is done. Chris Rock was so clearly shucking and jiving. He was so clearly curtailing his bits for white claps. It was just full-on, unapologetically anti-black. All right, now this next part is where I'm going to have to sub in some words here and go slowly. This black-ass man was sitting in this auditorium. Basically what he said was, I'm black, but I'm not an N-word. And they were laughing their effing A's off. I left halfway. I was disappointed. I was hungry. Just let me take my black A onto Checkers. I left there thinking, he needs to be slapped one more time. I didn't like the first slap. I thought it was just, whatever. But now I'm like, shoot, where's Big Willie when you need him? Moving on. High Times caught up with TJ Miller. They say TJ Miller's beaming, fresh off the drop of his latest comedy special. He's about to pause our phone chat to toast his wife when he gets some great news about a Christmas movie. So they asked TJ, did you always want to be a comic? And TJ said, I always like cracking up kids in my class, and we get in trouble for it all the time. I was usually in plays and we get a lot of laughs, but the first time I did high school theater, it was Dracula, and I played the attendant for comic relief. And I remember that first huge laugh felt amazing. I then pursued a lot of improv and actually stand-up comedy in a high school drama class. I credit my drama teacher, Melody Dugan, with being able to have the foresight to say, none of you guys will be able to do this for a living, but TJ might be able to be a stand-up comic. She was so cool. Nobody else was doing that at the time, and I don't think that happens a lot. So was your path set? It was more when I got to college and tried out for the comedy group. I was the only one selected that year after kind of blowing the audition away. I worked incredibly hard and was very lucky with this group. Imagine this, you're in college and the group tells you they rehearse every single night, 10 to midnight, Monday through Thursday. On the weekends, you need to cut sketches, be in video sketches, and rehearse. It was almost like playing a sport. By sophomore year, I decided to get a degree in psychology in case I needed to do it. Psychology is amazing, but you can only affect 1,000 people's lives, but you can affect them completely as a psychologist. I figured with stand-up comedy and filmmaking, I'd be able to make an impact on hundreds of millions of people, but only for an hour and a half. Junior year, I studied at an Improv Olympic and tried stand-up in Chicago and was hooked. It just seemed like the most complex and difficult thing in the world, and I couldn't wait to do it, and that's sort of how it's always been. I graduated, went to Chicago, toured Second City, performed stand-up every night, 7 nights a week for 3 to 4 years, and then used my work ethic during that time to propel me forward. TJ's friend, Ryan Reynolds. Yes, this has turned into a Ryan Reynolds podcast. Ryan Reynolds has teamed up with Will Ferrell, one of the least friendly people I ever met in my career. It's serious. Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds will team up for a spirited take on A Christmas Carol. This will be on Apple TV+. It's called Spirited. Ryan Reynolds stars as Clint Briggs, a Scrooge-like character, visited on Christmas Eve by the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas not that friendly in real life, and Christmas future. Will Ferrell plays the ghost of Christmas not that friendly, ghost of Christmas present, who has the tables turned on him by Briggs, with the ghostly host ultimately re-examining his own past, present, and future. Metro Weekly caught up with Jessica Kirson, who's one of the nicest person I met during my time at Sirius. Jessica Kirson said, I'm working on a book about my life, being the daughter of a therapist, growing up with my mother who saw clients in the house. It's really funny, deep, and, pretty intense. I was going to school to get a master's in social work at NYU. And one night, while out to dinner with her family, I was telling a story. They were all laughing, and my grandmother called me over and said, you need to be a stand-up comedian. Jessica thought that was preposterous, but Grandma said, trust me, I'm your grandmother. I know these things. Every time you're sitting with people, since you were a young child, you've been making them laugh. Shortly thereafter, Jessica stumbled on an ad for a crash course in stand-up comedy. That's a thing? Okay. She gave it a go, and here I am 23 years later. My favorite thing is when I turn around and someone's looking at me like I've lost my mind and I'm having a mental breakdown. That's become a fan favorite too. There are people who love when I do that. They love watching people that don't get it. It makes them laugh even harder. Pete Davidson in the news all the time. What do we got today, Pete? Pete has joined the cast of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, the 7th Transformer movies. Pete Davidson will voice Mirage. Neal Brennan has a new special, this one called Neal Brennan Blocks, Netflix, November 8th. In the special, Neal Brennan moves physical blocks around the stage in order to explain the emotional and cultural issues that make him feel like something's wrong with him. From his complicated relationship with his dog Keith, drugs and alcohol, liberalism, and his slim chances of finding real everlasting love, Neal Brennan gives the audience an honest and hilarious look inside his psyche. Joe Parra told the Dallas Observer about his jokes. It's just about good quality jokes that hit hard. So when I'm talking at a slower pace, instead of doing as many jokes as I can, I give 5 good ones that hit really hard. It's about being economical with words. So I think it's just making sure the writing is high quality. Eddie Izzard has a new book. It's called Believe Me, a memoir of love, death, and jazz chickens. Vulture has an excerpt in which Eddie tells a story about the first time Eddie went out in a dress. I've condensed it here, and as Eddie tells the story, some kids started yelling, "Hey mate, hey mister, why are you wearing makeup? Why are you dressed as a woman?" Eddie writes, I was out the door, heading back toward home, and they were following me. "Hey, why are you dressed as a woman?" They were still following me across Highbury Fields, which is when I thought, don't go home, they'll know where you live, you'll never hear the end of it. So I was walking away from home, and they kept shouting at me, and I thought, screw this, they're just going to shout at me forever, let's confront this. So I stopped, and I turned around to face my teenage inquisitors, and I shouted back, "You want to know why I'm wearing a dress? I'll tell you why." But before I could say anything else, the teenage girl screamed and ran off in the other direction. I was stunned. Wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought. I think that was the first time I was overtly intimidated because of my sexuality. You assume older people intimidate younger people, but those 3 13-year-old girls had power over a 23-year-old man. Maybe they turned out to be wonderful human beings, or maybe they all now live in a tree. Whatever. And thedrum.com is your home for comedy news. They spoke to famous comedian Eli Manning, Peyton Manning's quarterback brother. Yes, Eli Manning, famous quarterback. What is the secret to good humor? Eli Manning said, well, the secret to good humor is you have to be yourself. You have to bring your own humor to the table and understand what you're doing. The idea for me was to always take your job very seriously. Whatever you're doing, whoever you're working for, take it very seriously, but never take yourself too seriously. Be able to laugh at yourself, be able to make fun of yourself and enjoy that. Just try to go in there with an open mind, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Maybe do something you're not used to doing. That's kind of my mindset. Eli said it's grown over the years. Early on, I wasn't really good at doing the comedic stuff. It was like, hey, I'm a football player. That's all I knew. But over time, doing a few more commercials and doing some time with my brothers and my family, it helps you relax a little bit. Do a little bit more improv and change things up. All of a sudden, you kind of earn the right to change things up or try something new, put yourself out there and see if it works. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. And from Chortle, Jimmy Carr might torch a painting by Adolf Hitler. You didn't think I was going to say that sentence, did you? No, you didn't. Jimmy Carr might torch a painting by Adolf Hitler with a flamethrower. You didn't think I was going to throw that in there either, did you? No, Jimmy Carr might torch a painting by Adolf Hitler with a flamethrower in a new Channel 4 art show. No, I didn't have a third surprise for you, sorry. Channel 4 has bought the piece as well as other artworks by problematic artists, including Pablo Picasso, Rolf Harris, and a third guy described as a sexual abuser. Well, I don't want to endorse him. I'm not familiar with Rolf Harris, and I've heard of Pablo Picasso because I live on Earth. Pablo Picasso is a problematic artist. Okay, a studio audience will decide whether the art should be destroyed or not. It's a one-off show entitled Jimmy Carr Destroys Art. Ian Katz, Channel 4's director of programming, told journalists, this kind of programming is difficult and expensive and probably not a rational commercial approach. I could put true crime on in every slot and probably just double the ratings. But instead, we're going to have Jimmy Carr and a flamethrower and a piece of art made by Hitler? Sure, why not? Jimmy Carr Destroys Art, Channel 4, October 25th. 9:15. And that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get shows. See you tomorrow.